All right, so this is the last video for the semester. So I'm going to show you how to do the formatting for the research paper, writing project 4. So for the last time, go ahead and log into your Google account. And then I'm going to pull up my folder here, or I should say my demo folder. So go into your writing project 4 final folder. Remember, we did not have a draft of this paper, so there is no draft. It's just the final copy, and there should be no document in your folder. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new document. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to name my document. So go ahead and name it your first name. I'm going to hit enter, and then I'm going to change my font style to Times New Roman, size 12. Then I need to put in my page number. So I'm going to go up to insert and go down to page numbers and scroll up to this first one right here. And then move my cursor in front of the one and type my last name, space. And then I want to select all of that and go back up and make sure that I'm in Times New Roman and 12. I think almost everyone got that right on the last paper, so it's finally clicking. All right, now I need to do my header. So I'm going to hit single spacing for that. Let's see. Okay, my name, in space, enter. My name again, enter, space, enter. And then this is English 1100, comma, space, writing project 4, enter, space. Then I need my date. So that will be the due date of your paper. So my 12:30 class, my 2 o'clock class, your paper is due on Friday, the 13th. And then the 11 o'clock section, your paper is due on what? 2 days later, I'm going to have it due on the 15th. So whatever day yours is due, I'm going to put 13. Now, I noticed a couple of people want to put a comma after that. No comma, just number. So day, month, year, enter, space, enter. Now I need to do my title. So I'm going to go up here to center. Now, for this paper, you could come up with whatever title you want to. It doesn't matter. I always say make it something related. Think about your primary sources. Think about your secondary sources. But you do need to have some type of creative title. And again, it can be whatever. So I'm just going to put something here, whatever, for the title. Okay, enter, space, enter again, and then I want to come back up here and go back to left align and then tab over, and this is where you should have your introduction paragraph. Up. I noticed that that immediately went down, so I need to shift that back up. Okay, and for the introduction paragraph, I mean, I did notice that that was something that everyone needs to go back and look at for the final copy based on the annotated bibliography. Some of you still do not have a good or thorough definition of gender or popular culture. Some people maybe had one good definition, but everyone needs to go back and look at their intro. I definitely saw some problems. Some people didn't make a clear connection between those two. And I mean, we have talked about that. So, I mean, gender, if we think about gender and popular culture, the way we think about gender is influenced by what we see in popular culture, but you definitely have to have at least a statement, a sentence about that connection. And remember, you will take out the part of your intro from your annotated bibliography that talks about the sources that are covered and the purpose of the annotated bibliography. Those do not apply here. We are not in an annotated bibliography anymore. So that those parts will get replaced by your thesis statement. All right, so let's say this is my intro, and then I'm going to come down here. Okay, so then this would be my first summary paragraph. So you want to go back and look at your thesis statement. So see which source you're going to be, which primary source comes first in your thesis statement. That will be the one that you analyze first. So whichever two secondary sources relate to that first primary source, that is the first summary paragraph that you'll do. So let's say this is my first summary paragraph. And again, your paragraphs are obviously going to be much longer than what's on here. And again, go back and look at your summary paragraphs. I mean, I did comment, though those are the crucial parts that you want to go back to and look at on your annotated bibliography. One problem that I saw over and over again with the summary paragraphs was that people were not mentioning those character traits from their that's going to appear in their thesis statement inside the summaries. So and I made that comment on the rubrics, like you want to weave whatever character traits apply to that primary source into the summary of the secondary source. Okay, so this would be what my first summary paragraph. Then I need to analyze my first primary source. Now, on the outline, my example, I think it's best to break down each analysis of each primary source into two paragraphs. And then inside of each paragraph, you should have what? Two quotes from each of the secondary sources. That is, to me, is what is most helpful. I mean, I've had some students in the past do only one paragraph for the analysis, and I don't know, the analysis paragraph is going to be very long, so it's easier to break it down into two smaller paragraphs. So this would be my first paragraph where I'm analyzing my first primary source. Okay, then this would be the second paragraph where I'm analyzing the first primary source. All right, then, okay, now that I've dealt with, so Z is my summary paragraph of the secondary sources that relate to my first primary source, and then A and B paragraphs are where I actually analyze the first primary source. Okay, now that I've finished that primary source, now I need to start thinking about my second primary source. So the first thing that I need is my summary paragraph related to the secondary sources that apply to my second primary source. And then I need to analyze my second primary source. So again, you want to break down that analysis part into two paragraphs. That's most helpful. All right, so C, that is where I've summarized my secondary sources about the second primary source. And then D and E, those are my analysis paragraphs that relate to my second primary source. And then I need a conclusion paragraph. So that will be my last paragraph. All right, so how many paragraphs are we looking at total then for this paper? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 8. And that's what I would expect to see on the final copy is about 8 paragraphs. And if you go back to your supplemental materials folder, so here's the outline for writing project 4 right here. If I go into my supplemental materials folder, again, make sure that you're using here I've given you information about the introduction. We talked about that a lot. So that part should not be complicated. And then you've got your, we went over these in class, how to merge together those summaries from your annotated bibliography. So these help you with your summary paragraphs. And then I've given you examples of how to do analysis paragraphs for each of your primary sources. And then I got a diagram here to help you with the conclusion. And then help with the in-text citation. So remember, depending on your sources, you do need to have in-text citations related to the primary sources, especially if you're quoting dialogue or song lyrics for a music video, words on a print ad, dialogue from a comic strip, TV show episode. You should definitely have some in-text citations in your paper. Dialogue also applies to movies. And then our in-text citations of our secondary sources, those should be pretty easy by now. We're either dealing with page numbers, or if you're quoting from a documentary, remember you need the full title of the documentary at the beginning after the parentheses. That needs to be in italics, and some people did miss that on their annotated bibliography. I made a note on there. And then you need a timestamp, the timestamp of when it was actually said in the documentary. All right, so if I go back here, all right, and you can see this is single space. So since we're not doing a draft, we're in a final copy, I need to go ahead and double space all of this once I get done. So I want to select all of it. I want to come up here. And now a few people on the annotated bibliography are still messing this part up. They're having like a custom spacing. I saw custom spacing like 2.5, not sure what that's all about. All I have to do is select it and then come up here to double space. And then notice what it does. It double spaces everything, but there are big gaps here. Now, most of you were okay with this on the annotated bibliography. Some people still did not do this, and you will lose points for this on the final copy. You've got to fix those big gaps. So I want to put my cursor in the middle and then hit backspace, and that deletes that extra line. By now, this should be pretty simple. Then I do want to make sure that my paragraphs are indented. I just noticed I forgot to indent them. So there we go. So, okay, so now what do I need to do? I need my works cited page. So whichever page that your conclusion ends on, you want to scroll or hit enter until you get to a new page. And now I need to do my works cited page. So here I'm going to come up to make sure this is centered, works cited, because we're dealing with more than one. So works, enter. And then I want to come back over here and hit left align. And now I want to do my citations. And now some of your citations, some might be one line, some might be two. So remember, if it's two, you've got to have a hanging indent. If we're thinking about how many works cited citations there should be, so 4 of them should come from your annotated bibliography. And I think everyone did a pretty good job with getting those into alphabetical order. I did not see major problems with that. So those should be able to be transferred over pretty easily. So you can, and if there were errors with those, I did correct those for you on your annotated bibliography. I took off points if they were wrong, but I did correct them for you. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so 4 from the annotated, so 4 of the works cited citations come from your annotated bibliography. And then remember, you've got to do the 2 other ones that relate to your primary sources. So those of you who submitted those to me, I looked at those, I gave you comments on them. But again, that is also here in the supplemental materials folder. If you need to know how to cite your primary sources, I've given you examples for how to do every single type. Every type that is could be part of the project. Those are all here. So please make sure you're using the examples to help you write those citations. So if I go back here, okay, I've got to do my hanging indents now. And I think it's easier, what, if you select each one? Or I'm going to try to see if I can select them all and do a hanging indent and how that works. Okay, so you can. So you can literally select all of them and just do the hanging indent. So if I look at mine, I'm like, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These should be in alphabetical order. And that looks pretty good. So if I'm going through it like this, I'm like, okay, so let's look at a finished example of it just to see. So, I mean, my example is up on Blackboard, so there's an example of what the spacing and the formatting should look like on my instructor example. But let's look at one done by a student. All right, so same thing. I'm going to go through, okay, last name, page number up here. Okay, the header information, last name, first name, my name, English 1100, comma, writing project 4. And now there's where this was from last spring. There's my date. Title, okay, that was her title, fine. And then I noticed there's a single space, not a huge gap, between the title and the opening paragraph, the intro. And the intro does have the indent here. And then I scroll down and I see that, yes, this looks double spaced. In the very end of her intro, there is a thesis statement highlighted in yellow. Perfect. And then I go down to the second paragraph. So this is where she's examining. So in her thesis statement, she mentioned print ads first. Okay, in the second paragraph, I should see a summary about the secondary sources that relate to print ads. So this is her first summary paragraph here. All right, it ends. Now I should go on and see the analysis of the print ad. And hopefully she's broken this down into a couple of paragraphs. So here I've got the beginning of the first one. Scroll down. Okay, I see quotes. I see in-text citations. Okay, here's the second paragraph that relates to the analysis of the print ads. Starting right here with the. So I'm going to scroll down. Same thing. I see quotes. All right, looks fine. Okay, fourth paragraph. So this is the paragraph that relates to the secondary sources that relate to the second primary source. So what was hers? What was it? Let's go back up here. Films. Okay, yeah, she picked a film. I think Legally Blonde was the one that she picked. So this, fifth paragraph should be the summary of the secondary sources that relate to films. All right. Okay, sixth paragraph. So now I should see where she has started to analyze that film. And that should be, again, broken down into two paragraphs. So I see one here, start of one. I see quotes from the movie, dialogue from the movie, quotes from secondary sources. All right, here's the start of the second paragraph where she's analyzing the film. So this is paragraph 7. Okay, I see quotes from the secondary sources. Fine. Okay, and then I should see a conclusion paragraph. So this is the last paragraph here for her conclusion. Great. And then I'm going to scroll all the way down, and I should see her works cited page. And I do. So works cited at the top, and now I should see what? Six citations in alphabetical order. So I see Aaron, Brant. Okay, the primary source, the print ad, that one's right here. Okay, Killing Us Softly, the movie. There's her second primary source cited here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, and all the works cited citations are double spaced. I can see that. They've got periods at the end. Everything looks cited correctly. And yes, these are in alphabetical order. A, B, D, K, L, N. So that looks great. I do not see any issues here as far as the formatting goes. So again, I think that's it for the formatting. So again, make sure that you are going back and using your materials. If you need help with the works cited citations for the primary sources, please use this document, because if you've cited them wrong on the works cited page, and that'll be counted off for the final copy. But again, you've got all the materials here that you need to help you with all the different parts of this research paper. And please look at my comments on your introduction and your summary paragraphs in your annotated bibliography. That is crucial, because those parts should get transferred over into the research paper. So I think that's it. Good luck.